here's why Moldovans are actually some of the most adaptable people to globalization, and why I am proud to be in this beautiful country of right around 3 million people. Hello and welcome back to the Traveling Report. Today I wanted to go over why exactly Moldovans are so internationally adaptable, and why increasingly this is a destination I see as on the correct trajectory for global wealth and global prosperity. So, with that said, let's go into it. So, of course, in a lot of cases in Eastern Europe, the history has to start in actually not the USSR, but prior to the USSR. Prior to the USSR, Romania owned Moldova, and Moldova was a part of the Kingdom of Romania prior to 1945. And so it's through this that a lot of Moldovans were Romanian. Around 85% of Moldovans are still considered to be Romanian. And so, with this, you gain sort of an understanding of how these systems came to be. A lot of what the modern Moldovan mentality is the prior mentality that they had since 1945 and the Kingdom of Romania. Now, Romania was a part of the Axis powers in World War II, and thus got their lands carved up. And so, obviously, during the treaty signatures, Romania had to cede Moldova to the Soviet Socialist republics, and it became an autonomous republic called the Moldovan Soviet Socialist Republic. And so it's with this that they learned Russian, the state language of Moldova, until 1991 was Russian alongside Moldovan. Now, Moldovan is actually not a language. It is a dialect of Romanian with Russian loanwords. However, due to the inherent brainwashing that the Soviet Socialist republics did to their republics to crush nationalism, in essence, the Soviet Socialist Republic of Moldova retains its language, but through another lens. Because unlike Armenia or Georgia, they were not too stoked about 1945 getting invaded and ceded back to the Russians, as prior there was a period where the Russians invaded and occupied Moldova. And so, this land has been changing hands for quite some time. Now, you may think, well, how does this history help any of the potential for global mobility and global success? Well, that's exactly why. They are understanding of not just their own system, which is predominantly based on Romanian law, which Romanian law is predominantly based on French law. They're also basing their system, or I believe it's French law. I will put the correct bases on the screen now, but I believe that due to the Latin influence, essentially they use predominantly French law, mixed in with British law and European common frameworks. Irrespective, the Romanians then, during 1991, helped Moldova to secede from the USSR. Now, they were unique in that they were slightly later, I believe, than Ukraine or Belarus in the region, and this created a power vacuum. A power vacuum that was filled not by people who you would want running your country, but corrupt people. The oligarchs, predominantly Russian oligarchs. And so, these oligarchs had massive control and capture over the institutions that Moldova has, that culminated in the 2014 $1 billion bank fraud that the central bank essentially lost $1 billion, which at the time was 8%, I believe. Again, I'll put it up on the screen. At this point, it looked like Romania had all but vanished from its help in the region. So Russian parties obviously were becoming much larger, and the share of voters for Russian parties was becoming much larger. However, Maia Sandu was elected, and Maia Sandu is interesting because she, in essence, took major corruption reforms and essentially moved towards Romania. Now, Romania is an interesting country as it is fiercely independent as well. It is somewhat of a quagmire in the EU, just as Hungary and Poland are. And so Romania is fiercely independent. However, it still wants to see Moldova rejoin Romania. Around 50 to 60%, I believe, of Romanians believe that Moldova should be an integral part of Romania, and it is still considered by Romania under the constitution to be a part of Romania. And so 95% of Moldovans can get Romanian citizenship. With this being the case, Moldovans are extremely globally understanding because they are surrounded not only with a history of global empires and so forth consuming them, but also because modern mobility allows them to be. Now, with this said, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like. If you really enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a share. If you are looking to join me on this journey, feel free to subscribe. If you are at all interested in supporting me financially, there is a Patreon down in the description down below. Thank you for watching. This has been the Traveling Report, and I'm off.